Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kerry. Today I'll be showing you how to block the baby blanket and attach all the appliques onto it to make a teddy bear's picnic blanket. I use the baby blanket, different teddy bear appliques and some other appliques, and I'll have the links to all the patterns I used in the description below. To put the appliques on the blanket, I used a sewing needle and thread, some wadding to pad a few of the appliques, and some filling to fill the legs of the teddy on the swing. I had to rush to get the blanket finished to put in the Royal Queensland show, but managed to get it done late the night before the deadline. The judging has now been completed, and I'm thrilled to have received first place in the baby blanket and shawl section. The show runs from the 9th to the 18th of August in Brisbane. I made the blanket using the baby blanket crochet pattern. The yarn I used was 8-ply luxury wool from the Bendigo Woolen Mills. I used baby mint for the grass and baby blue for the sky. Once I'd finished the blanket, I blocked it. I bought a large rubber mat, covered it with a sheet, placed the blanket on it and sprayed the blanket with water using a spray bottle. Once the blanket was damp, I gently stretched the blanket evenly into shape and pinned it to the mat. I left the blanket to dry before I unpinned it. For the tree and swing, I used the tree crochet pattern and the blossoms and swing crochet pattern. I attached the blossoms to the tree as I had in the blossoms and swing crochet pattern. I placed the tree on the right side of the blanket with the partial branch up against the side of the blanket and the swing branch near the join for the sky, and then I pinned it in place. I stitched the tree trunk to the blanket first using an invisible stitch. I'll include the link for the invisible stitch tutorial. Then I stitched around the rest of the tree except for the swing branch. I then attached the swing to the swing branch, then attached the swing branch to the blanket using the invisible stitch. Then I sewed the swing to the blanket using the invisible stitch, but leaving it unstitched on both sides of the chain for the teddy's arms to go through. I used a child teddy bear crochet pattern for the teddy on the swing, and as I wanted it to look like the teddy was sitting on the swing, I crocheted back through it using the same pattern but leaving off the muzzle and facial features. I stitched the front and back together, filling the legs as I stitched. I then worked a row of stitching across the middle of the teddy to make it look like it was sitting on the swing. I pushed the teddy's arms through the chains for the swing and sewed it to the blanket, leaving it unstitched around the legs. I then sewed the remaining chain down over the bear's hands. You could add some flowers and leaves to the swing chains if desired. I did, as I stitched the chains on a bit wonky. I arranged all the other appliques on the blanket. Then I took photos of them once I was happy with the design so that I could refer back to them, and then I pinned all the appliques onto the blanket. The patterns I used for the teddies and food on the plaid picnic blanket were the crochet teddy bear pattern, crochet picnic basket pattern, the plaid picnic blanket crochet applique pattern, the crochet baby teddy bear applique pattern, and the picnic blanket food crochet pattern. I wanted the plaid picnic blanket with the family of teddies and food to be a prominent feature of the blanket. I made 2 large teddies using the crochet teddy bear pattern for the parent bears, and I cut out some wadding for them and the basket to make them stand out more. I stitched the 2 teddies and the basket to the plaid picnic blanket, stitching the wadding under them, but all of them had parts sticking out over the edge of the blanket. I then sewed the baby teddy and the food to the blanket. Next I stitched the plaid picnic blanket to the teddy bear's picnic blanket using an invisible stitch. Lastly I sewed the parts of the teddies and the basket that hadn't been stitched down to the blanket using an invisible stitch. I crocheted a pram for the baby teddy bear using the crochet pram pattern and attached it to the blanket just behind the plaid picnic blanket using an invisible stitch. For the barbecue and the teddy with the apron, I used the teddy bear crochet applique pattern, crochet barbecue pattern and the barbecue apron crochet pattern. I secured 2 of the barbecue utensils in the pocket of the apron and then stitched the apron to the teddy. I sewed the barbecue and the teddy to the blanket with an invisible stitch, placing one of the barbecue utensils in the teddy's hand. For the picnic table, food and small child teddy, I used the crochet picnic table pattern, crochet baby teddy bear applique pattern and picnic food crochet pattern. I stitched the sauce bottles to the small basket, adding a small amount of filling as I stitched them on. I then sewed the watermelon, basket and 2 glasses to the top of the table. I stitched the table to the baby blanket using an invisible stitch. I then crocheted a baby teddy, leaving off the nappy and bottle, but adding a flower near its ear, and then sat it on the seat of the picnic table, attaching it to the blanket using an invisible stitch. For the aeroplane, I used the aeroplane crochet applique pattern. I attached the teddy bear's head to the cockpit of the plane and stitched the plane to the blanket using an invisible stitch. I crocheted 2 teddy bears with kites using the crochet kite pattern and the child teddy bear crochet pattern. Once I decided how high I wanted the kites to fly, I worked the desired length of chain for the kite strings. I attached the teddies to the blanket first, using an invisible stitch, then sewed on the kite strings, and then stitched the kites over the top of the string, using an invisible stitch. I stitched the tail strings down, but left the bows unstitched. I crocheted 2 teddies with dresses, 3 balloons and a skipping rope using my paid pattern. The teddy bear with the dress and accessories pattern is a paid exclusive pattern on Ravelry, and the video tutorial is available for our Patreon $10 subscribers. If you like, you could use the teddy bear crochet applique pattern, and I have a basket pattern available on the Girl with a Basket of Flowers pattern. A skipping rope could easily be made using a length of chain and handles, and you could make a circle for the balloons. All the appliques were attached using an invisible stitch. I crocheted some grass for under the tree. I sewed it on at the bottom of the trunk and then stitched some blossoms around under the tree using a French knot for the centre of the flowers. To go just at the bottom of the trunk of the tree, I crocheted some grass. I'm using the same yarn I used for the grass for the baby blanket. Now, I've also got a 2.5mm crochet hook. Now, I start with 22 chain. Now I work 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. And then a single crochet into the next stitch. A single crochet is a double crochet using UK terms. And 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. For a half double crochet, you put your hook into the stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with this yarn at the end through all the loops. And we need 1 more half double crochet. Then we miss 1 chain and slip stitch into the next chain. that's the first blade of grass done. And then we work one single crochet into the next stitch, and then work 3 chain. That's for our next blade of grass. And we work a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. Then we work one single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches on our original chain. And then work 5 chain. Then slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, one single crochet into the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet into each of the following 2 stitches. We miss 1 stitch on our original chain and work a slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches. And then work 6 chain. And then slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, work 1 single crochet into the next chain, and then 1 half double crochet into each of the following 3 stitches. Then miss the next stitch on the original chain and work 1 slip stitch into each of the following 2 stitches. And then work 3 chain, slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, and then work a single crochet into the next chain, and then slip stitch into each of the next 2 of the original chain, and then work 5 chain, slip stitch into the second chain from the hook, a single crochet into the next stitch, and then work 1 half double crochet into each of the following 2 chain. Miss 1 stitch on the original chain and slip stitch into the next stitch and work 6 chain, work 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, a single crochet into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into each of the remaining chain. And then slip stitch into the last of the original chain and fasten off. And that's the grass done. I'll attach that just at the bottom of the trunk, and I'll scatter some blossoms down around the tree as well. Once I'd stitched all the appliques on, there was still a gap in the blanket that needed to be filled, and I had a deadline to finish it. So I attached a child teddy bear holding a piece of watermelon. Both were stitched on using an invisible stitch. And there's the finished Teddy Bear's Picnic Baby blanket. If you like my video, please like, subscribe and share. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest and Twitter. The details are in the description below, along with the details of my website, where I have my patterns in both UK and US terms, the details of my Facebook group and the details of my Patreon. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.